Hey folks, if you're watching this later, I had some requests to do a little bit of a garden podcast sort of thing, and so I'm gonna do that today because we're supposed to have a bit of a frost tonight, or at least there's a danger of one, and so I'm probably gonna have a lot of stuff look wilty after now. So I'm gonna hang out a little bit and see if anybody joins the live stream, and if not, then I'll just go ahead and walk around the garden, and we can, everybody can watch it later. It's Sunday afternoon here in North Carolina, and according to the old watch, it is. Let's see. Yeah, 57 degrees. So kind of chilly, but not too bad. We have a Scraggles down here. She is sniffing around. Oh, hey, there's some folks. Well, yeah, it's not that cold here. Oh, look, 2 Coloradoans are the first to join and comment. Yeah, it's still, as I was just saying, still about 57 here, so we are probably going to get a frost tonight, which is why I need to do this today, or else, we won't have any plants to see. Can y'all hear all right? Is this microphone doing okay? It's kind of windy out here, and somebody decided to mow their lawn just now, so super timing. Green was gone back in August. No, not good. Alright, well, if y'all can hear me all right, then I'm going to go ahead and look around. In fact, maybe I'll go and don't hear the wind or the lawnmower? Good, I'm glad to hear it. Glad that you don't hear it. Okay, let me turn the camera around. I'm here in the backyard. Ooh, man, some serious wind. Alright, good. Sound is good? Good. So let's flip this around. And, so this is the back of my house. Over here. Got a grill and, some other random stuff. There are a couple of corms over here on the steps. These are Amorphophallus corms. There's no real roots on here anymore, just a few little stragglers. These are going to be put away for the winter. These aren't exactly winter hardy here, so they're going to go inside. It's my fire pit. Got some pine twigs. This wheelbarrow is full of hollywood from these hollies. I cut them back at the beginning, I guess last fall or something, and then I put all this wood over here to dry, and then the wind came through and knocked over my wheelbarrow last night, so this down here is sort of a sedum garden that I did for Audrey. The sedum is mostly past, it's kind of done unfortunately, but it's a nice succulent sort of plant. It's actually not painted, it's just siding, but thanks. This is, so sedum in here, and then some ice plant, which is this little guy right here. This garden has gotten a lot of weeds in it. I've got a lot of clover. I'm just going to kind of leave it there. It's actually a pretty good nitrogen fixer, so I'll take care of that in the fall, or the spring. This is Angelina, which is another type of sedum, and this stuff will turn rusty brown in the winter, but it doesn't ever really die back. And then some more sedums, that sort of thing over here. The flowers have just passed. These are all the big flower heads. You can see most of the leaves have either fallen or been eaten by bugs, but that's what happens in fall here in North Carolina. There's a garden gnome. Yeah, I don't mind clover at all. I had some there's Scraggles out there in the yard. This is really the only shady area that I have available at this house. We have a lot of full sun, except for back here, where it's only really part sun. This gets all morning sun back here. So these are Mahonia belli, which are probably these are probably hardy in Colorado or something. This is a pretty hardcore, very, very stabby sort of evergreen, and it gets these nice sprays. Let's see if I got any coming up. Here's a bud actually. So this will come up as a stalk, and you have these sort of sprays of flowers, and then those will give way to bright blue berries that persist for the rest of the the rest of the year, basically, until more flowers come on there, or rather they fall off, and then we have fall or whatever. This is the Amorphophallus that I have those corms for. Well, this is a different species, but this is more or less what it looks like. And these are, if you can see, big Jurassic-style stems. Kind of get down in here into the foliage. There we go. And they all kind of come out of the ground, whoa, back in there. But this is all technically one leaf. I don't know exactly what the reason for that is, but that's what they tell me. So this is getting pretty thick. The thing that you'll remember about Amorphophallus is that it's also called corpse flower. Scraggles is over there by the garden, or by the vegetable patch. She's wandered off. So this is also called corpse flower, and so eventually when these corms get big enough, the first thing that'll pop out of the ground in the fall, or spring rather, is a giant flower that looks like a penis. Like, it's kind of a penis-y vagina-looking flower. It's a weirdo thing, but it also smells like rotting meat, which is totally strange, and it only does that for a day or so, and then it's kind of this weird flower, and then that falls over, and then this comes up like a month later. So it's a really interesting plant that's totally weird, and I kind of love it. Underneath that is some hosta, which has gotten really eaten by Japanese beetles at this point. It takes them, they usually do fine until about now. You can see there's still some seed pods going on here, but those are mostly done. These leaves originally were bigger than my hand, so they've fed the Japanese beetles very nicely. This down here is a very unassuming plant that I really like. It's called a toad lily, and this one kind of grows underneath these hostas and mahonias, and then you get these dainty little flowers. Like, look at these guys. They're like the size of a thumb or something, but they're really nice little flowers. Like that. So, yep. And there are tons of these flowers. I mean, these are just little buds and stuff, so there'll be more of that as they go. But it's just sort of a low-growing shade plant that I love. One of the things I just recently got was another water lily. The last winter was too cold, and this bucket was in a different place, and so my water lilies died and just never came back. And my lotus, it killed both of them. So last winter was really cold. I'm hoping this one's not as bad. I mean, cold for us. This is one of my favorite plants. This is called it's a paper bush, is the most common name for it. Thought it was Friday? It is not. Shoot, I can't think of the scientific name of this thing now that I'm thinking about plants. Crud. Anyway, if you Google up paper bush, you'll find this basically. It's because they make paper out of it in Japan. And what's really cool about this bush, I think, is one, that it's a nicely shaped bush. Like, I haven't trimmed this at all, and it's just kind of a nice dome shape. Let me back out a little bit. It's got a nice dome-shaped habit to it, and I think it's pretty cool. But in the winter, soon all of these leaves are going to fall off, and then these buds will continue to go until around New Year's, and then they bust open, and they have these clumps of flowers that are sort of silvery on the top, like this bud is, and the underside is white and yellow, and they sort of hang down. And without all these leaves and this bark, which turns even more silver in the winter, you get this like red and silver bark with these like clumps, tons of clumps of like very fragrant and tiny yellow flowers. So it's a very cool bush, especially in the winter when nothing else is doing anything. And I can see them through this window, which is kind of in my TV room. This is sort of a holding area for plants that I haven't gotten in the ground yet, unfortunately. Some of these will come into the garage. Some of them I'll just winter outside because they'll be fine. But, and some of them I'll still get into the ground, I think. We're only going to get like this little patch of frost tonight, and then it should be okay after that. So, this is a ginger that I haven't gotten in the ground, and I hear it's actually hardy. But I'm going to put it in the garage for another winter just to give it some time to get bigger. And it should have big flowers that come up around the base, but this one hasn't flowered for me yet. These are just little ajugas down here. It's sort of a shady ground cover type of critter. And actually, sadly, this flat has had time to root into the ground. I might just leave it there and just let the plants grow. That's a perfectly good place for them. This is a little bit of Joe Pye weed that I haven't had a chance to plant yet. I'm not sure if I will. We'll see how it goes. It might go over here with these rests. They're kind of past now. Yeah, the weather's pretty okay. It's a little chilly, but not bad. These are some extra sedums that were left over from when I cleaned out Audrey's sedum garden. We have some very nice hardy, starts with a B. Man, I wish I could remember the name. In with some amaryllis. I'll remember the name of that stuff in a bit, I'm sure. I've got it everywhere around here. What else do we have here? This is an anise tree, and the leaves are usually this color. Sometimes they get a little bit brighter. This will eventually be like a 20-foot tall tree, at least. I haven't found exactly where I want to put it. That's why it's still in a pot, but I got to put it in the ground sometime soon. A couple little hosta type guys in here, some more amaryllis. These are, I didn't think these were going to do anything. They're kind of like little junk bulbs of canna, and they decided to go ahead and sprout, which is weird. A couple little Japanese maples that are still in pots. The wind came through and knocked over everything last night. These are doing totally fine in pots. I think this one's gonna go out in front of my house soon. I've got a tree out there that I really hate, so I'm gonna dig it up and put that in there. There's another little sedum that I'd honestly forgotten about. Some hellebores, which probably ought to be planted right in this area actually, because it gets kind of shady. This guy right here is a crinium, and I think it's going to go up front, but I haven't exactly decided where to put it. This thing will get pretty big and it'll have a ton of flowers. If you haven't seen crinum, look up crinum because it's pretty neat. This one here, I love elephant ears. This one is going to stay inside this year. This is a Thai giant, and so while these leaves are about the size of my fist right now, this plant will get to be, as it says here, 8 feet tall every year, and each of these will be like, I don't know, 4 to 5 feet long. It's going to be an amazing elephant ear once I get it through the winter, but it's a little bit chilly for it now, and I just got it, so it'll be, it's a next year plant. This is actually another next year plant. This is a Dahlia imperialis, which is a tree-sized dahlia. Anise tree, yeah, it's kind of fragrant. If you crush the leaves, it smells a little bit like licorice, but not a whole lot. It's pretty mild. Some grasses and stuff. This is a gold-tip cypress that I got from my aunt. This is going to be a giant redbud tree eventually. Well, it's actually a giant leafed redbud tree, so I got to find a place for that real quick. A couple of little things. Just a little lantana. These things I just actually got last weekend, so I haven't had a chance to go in the ground yet. What's this little guy? Oh, phlox, Stonifloria. Wheezy Smith. This is a fun little creeping phlox. It'll probably go up in the front somewhere where we can enjoy it. So, you know, those are the things I have in pots. I have a couple little grasses over here. A couple more little grasses down there that need homes. This, I believe, is a viburnum, but I didn't actually... It's not actually marked. It's not that. My aunt gave me this. It's been in a pot for a year, so it'll be fine in a pot for the rest of the winter. These are like some shade-loving, water-loving grasses. So they're probably going to go over in this area, which gets kind of wet. If you're curious about what the cat boxes are, the cat sand boxes, those actually have, I'm using that for compost. That's like kitchen scrap compost. Once it breaks down, I sort of just pour it into holes in the garden. This was Joe Pye weed. It's past its time. This garden over here is also totally done, basically. This is all goldenrod. It's fireworks goldenrod that comes up about yay high, which is, I don't know, about 4 feet tall or so, and it comes out in these sprays of flowers. So if you look at these sort of dead branches now, these are all covered in tiny yellow flowers. Not too long ago. There's a little amaryllis couple in there. The amaryllis comes up first, so I kind of keep it in this garden just because nothing else really comes up. There's a beard tongue. This, I can't remember what this is, but I think it's like a, what do they call it? I actually don't know. I'm not even gonna take a guess. My aunt gave it to me. It's cool looking. It's covered in these white flowers most of the summer, but I can't remember what the darn thing is called. I got a couple iris left in there and a lot of weeds. This little patch of garden has really been neglected, unfortunately, because I was building that stuff over there. Some compost heap back there. This was all tomatoes and purple basil. Purple basil still here. Smells very nice. I let it go to flower because the pollinators like it, but this purple basil is really fragrant and good smelling. This is like a little berm that I built. I'm going to plant in it next year, but I'm still letting the, let's see. I totally make up names. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's going to look really good in the spring. Right now, everything's kind of in progress because a lot of this is new. So like I said, I made berms out of some of the grass that I took off over here. So late last fall, I went and bought rented a sod cutter, and I cut off this sod here to about an inch. So maybe 2? I think it was like an inch, basically. And as we'll see in a bit, this is actually kind of a lot of sod. And so I put some up in the front. It's on the other side of this. We can't see it now. In a big pile, and then I piled it up back here into a berm, and I covered it with this black landscape plastic, which is super tough, and it's killing the grass, because this Bermuda grass is almost unkillable, but if you deprive it of sunlight and bake it in the sun for about a year, it actually turns into good soil that you can use without a bunch of grass. So that'll be something soon. There'll be something here soon. There's nothing here now. These are daylilies, a little bit of weeds and stuff. I need to remulch this, but it's obviously past daylily time. These are the newest things I put in, which are hydrangeas. I have one here, I have another over here. And I said on Friday on my live stream that it was, and my hands were kind of twitching when I was trying to do the small camera. And that's because this soil was so hard to dig, man. So hard to dig. It's full of roots from the holly trees here and these evergreens here. But these ought to be nice looking hydrangeas next year. These were just in a pot. As you can see here, I had to cut the pots off because they'd grown roots through the bottom of the pot and into the ground. And that's why they were so happy. But I think they'll be doing good. I've got the hose out here because I was watering them. It rained all day yesterday, but I'll water them again just to make sure they have good moisture. These hydrangeas like sun, but they also really like that. They're not junipers. They're crud. I cannot remember the name of these things. They're a super common landscaping plant around here because they're incredibly hardy. They're slow growing, but they have this nice form, which is just this upright spear-shaped form. Crud. I cannot remember the name of these off the top of my head, unfortunately. Maybe I'll think of them later, but usually just trips off my tongue. But I only had 1 cup of coffee today. I slept in. Don't tell anybody, but I slept in. So anyway, these ought to be big. I think they're Annabelle is what they are. Probably Annabelle hydrangeas. But it's getting a little bit late for them. You can see they're wilting a little bit. And they're, it's getting to be time. Let's see. What's this? Oh, this is just a weed. These two little unimposing looking sticks are actually going to be milkweeds next year. So these will be homes for monarch butterflies. So they're not anything now, but yeah. Audrey's inside. She's not helping, but she is watching. This is going to be a beautyberry. I mean, it is a beautyberry, but it'll be a bigger beautyberry next year. I've got one in the front yard that I'll show you in a bit. That'll show you what that looks like. But it's not much in terms of foliage, but in the late summer and the rest of the winter, you get these like ringed clumps at every one of these junctures, basically, that are, you can see maybe right there at this juncture. Those will be either new leaves or beautyberry sprouts, like rings of beautyberries. They're pretty cool. This is a reblooming lilac, which the foliage is mostly gone on, but the blossoms are still going good. They smell nice. So this is that area that I took all the sod off of, and then I dug it down about 2 feet by hand, and then I mixed in several truckloads of compost and bags and bags of chicken grit, which is tiny gravel, but tiny grit chips to make actual drainage. And then I covered it over with a few inches of mulch. And so it's pretty good. This guy right here is a little Deutzia that I got. Can't even get Canadian hardy lilacs to grow. Oh, that's too bad. This will be a cute little bush. Again, it's late fall here, so not a lot going on. This is a little Budalia. I love these guys. There it is. There's not much on that one. This is a brand new plant. This is a pretty regular elephant ears. I've actually got names by a bunch of these, but some of the ones that are over in pots over there I just haven't put on yet. Like for example, there's one right here. I use these bamboo stakes. This is a swamp milkweed. It comes up late. It's a reminder not to dig in here. Where'd the other one go? Oh, it fell over. It's kind of done being swamp milkweed at this point. This is actually the plant that comes out of that corm that I showed you early on. This is a Morphophallus bulbifer. You can see there's a little bulb right here. I'm gonna break that off when this plant totally wilts off because it gets cold, and I'll just take that inside and it'll make a new thing. So this is just a common elephant ear, big green ears. Here's a hand for scale. This is pretty big. It's not as big as that Thai giant's gonna be. That's gonna be a massive one. Back in here, this is some more Joe Pye weed, which will be about as tall as the fence next year, and it's topped with lots and lots of flowers. This little guy is a neighbor maple.